The back door slammed open like a gunshot in the dead of night, and Isaiah tumbled out into the downpour, his father's roar chasing him like thunder. "Don't you ever come back here, you filthy liar. You're no son of mine." The words sliced deeper than the cold rain lashing his skin, turning the world into a blur of hurt and howling wind. Isaiah hit the mud on all fours, choking on sobs that tasted like betrayal, as the porch light snapped off behind him, leaving him swallowed by the storm, alone, at 19, with nothing but the clothes on his back and a heart cracked wide open. He didn't know how long he crouched there in the backyard of the old clapboard house in rural Ohio, the kind of place where cornfields stretched like endless regrets under a sky that never cleared. The rain hammered down, relentless, soaking through his thin hoodie until it clung like a second skin, heavy with the weight of everything he'd lost in one brutal moment. It had all unraveled so fast. His father's Bible thumping on the kitchen table, the accusations flying like accusations from the pulpit on Sundays, the way his mom's eyes had darted away, silent as the grave. Isaiah had confessed it all, the truth he'd buried for years. The way his gaze lingered too long on the boys in the high school locker room, the ache in his chest when he dreamed of hands that weren't rough and calloused like his dad's. Faggot. His father had spat, the word of venom that burned hotter than the whiskey on his breath. And now, here he was, cast out like trash in a tempest, the only home he'd ever known reduced to a flickering shadow in the distance. Isaiah pushed himself up, legs shaking like a newborn foal's, and staggered toward the gravel road that snaked away from the farm. His sneakers squelched in the puddles, each step a squish of defeat, but he couldn't stay. Not with the echo of that door slam ringing in his ears. The wind whipped at his face, carrying the faint scent of wet earth and distant hay bales, a reminder of the life he'd toiled in, milking cows before dawn, fixing fences under a merciless sun, all for a family that saw him as broken. He wiped his nose on his sleeve, tasting salt that wasn't just rain, and wondered where a kid like him went when the world turned its back. Columbus was 60 miles east, a city he'd only seen in faded postcards from his aunt, promising lights and anonymity. But 60 miles felt like a lifetime with empty pockets and a backpack stuffed with nothing but a crumpled photo of him and his little sister at last year's county fair. The first car that passed didn't even slow, its headlights cutting through the sheets of rain like judgmental eyes before vanishing into the night. Isaiah stuck out his thumb anyway, a desperate hitchhiker's prayer, but the road stayed empty, mocking him with its silence. His teeth chattered, not just from the cold seeping into his bones, but from the terror gnawing at his gut. What if no one stopped? What if he froze out here? Another ghost story for the locals to whisper about over coffee at the diner? He trudged on, the storm's fury mirroring the chaos in his head. Memories of stolen glances at Levi from the next farm over, the quiet farmhand with sun-kissed skin and eyes like polished oak, who always had a kind word and a steady hand when Isaiah needed it most. Levi. God, why did his name feel like a lifeline even now? They'd never spoken more than pleasantries, but in Isaiah's fevered dreams, those moments stretched into something more, soft touches in the hayloft, whispers that chased away the loneliness. But Levi was gone, moved on to the city months ago, leaving Isaiah with nothing but echoes. Hours blurred into a haze of shivering misery. The rain eased to a drizzle as dawn clawed its way over the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples and grays. Isaiah's feet dragged him to the edge of Milford, a speck of a town clinging to Route 23 like a forgotten promise. The neon sign of the Blue Heron Diner flickered ahead, a beacon in the gloom, and he stumbled inside, the bell jingling like a false welcome. The place smelled of greasy bacon and stale coffee, a warmth that hit him like a slap after the night's assault. Heads turned, truckers in flannel, a waitress with tired eyes, but no one spoke. Isaiah slid into a booth by the window, dripping water onto the cracked vinyl, and buried his face in his hands. "You look like you wrestled a hurricane and lost, kid." The voice was low, gravelly with a hint of amusement, pulling Isaiah's head up like a magnet. There, sliding into the opposite seat uninvited, was a man in his late 30s, broad-shouldered and weathered, with a jawline shadowed by stubble and hair cropped close, threaded with early silver. His eyes, hazel, sharp as a hawk's, held no pity, just a quiet assessment that made Isaiah's stomach twist. The stranger wore a faded leather jacket over a thermal shirt, jeans tucked into boots scuffed from hard miles, and a faint scar traced his left eyebrow like a secret etched in skin. Isaiah swallowed hard, voice raw. "Something like that." He glanced away, out at the rain-slicked parking lot, but the man didn't budge. "Name's Levi. Saw you trudging in from the road. Figured you could use a coffee before you keel over." Levi flagged the waitress with a nod, ordering 2 mugs without asking, his movements easy, like he owned the space between them. Isaiah's heart stuttered. Levi? The Levi? From the farm? But this man was older, harder around the edges, though those eyes, they sparked the same pull, the same unspoken understanding that had haunted Isaiah's quieter nights. "Isaiah," he muttered, fingers drumming the table as the steam rose between them. "And yeah, coffee sounds necessary." Levi leaned back, studying him with an intensity that felt like being seen for the first time. "Rough night? You got that look. Like the world's been chewing you up and spitting out the bones." Isaiah's laugh was bitter, cracking like dry leaves. "You could say that. He found out some stuff about me. Threw me out like yesterday's garbage. In the rain. Said I wasn't his anymore." The words tumbled out, unbidden, fueled by exhaustion and the stranger's steady gaze. Felt reckless, spilling his guts to a ghost from his past. But Levi didn't flinch. Instead, he pushed the mug closer, his calloused fingers brushing Isaiah's for a split second. "Electric. Gone too soon." "Parents," Levi said softly, stirring his coffee with a spoon that clinked like regret. "They build you up thinking blood's thicker than water, then drown you in it when you don't fit their mold." Been there. My old man was a mill worker in Pittsburgh. Beat the queer right out of me with his fists till I ran at 16. Landed in Ohio chasing rumors of a better life. Funny how the heart leads you back to the same damn fields. Isaiah's breath caught. Queer. The word hung there, unashamed, wrapping around his own hidden scars like a bomb. He searched Levi's face, piecing together the boy he'd glimpsed years ago, the one who'd fixed his bike chain with patient hands and a smile that lingered. Time had carved Levi into something solid, resilient, but the kindness was still there, buried under layers of guarded hope. "You're from around here?" Isaiah asked, voice tentative, as if naming the connection might shatter it. Levi's mouth quirked, a half-smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Was. Worked the Thompsons spread next to yours for a spell. Remember a scrawny kid with dirt on his cheeks, always asking questions about the stars? That you?" Heat flooded Isaiah's cheeks, mingling with the coffee's warmth. "Yeah. That was me. You were the only one who didn't make me feel stupid for wondering." The waitress dropped off eggs and toast on Levi's tab. He insisted with a wink, and they ate in companionable silence at first, the diner's hum fading to a distant buzz. Isaiah devoured the food like a man starved, not just for calories but for this improbable anchor in the storm. Levi talked easy then. Stories of drifting jobs, hauling lumber in the Appalachians, bartending in dive joints along the Rust Belt, painting a map of a life pieced together from fragments. No pity in his tone, just the raw honesty of someone who'd walked the same jagged path. By the time the sun burned through the clouds, casting golden shards across the booths, Isaiah felt the edges of his despair soften, just a fraction. "Where you headed now?" Levi asked, tossing bills on the table. "Nowhere. Everywhere." "Hell if I know." Isaiah shrugged, the weight of uncertainty pressing down again. Levi stood, zipping his jacket with a decisive tug. "Got a truck out back. Room for one more ghost on the road to Columbus. If you're game." Isaiah hesitated, the offer dangling like a rope over a chasm. Trust a stranger? But Levi wasn't a stranger, not really. And in that moment, with the rain's memory still dripping from his hair, Isaiah nodded. "Yeah. I'm game." They stepped out into the crisp morning air, the blue heron fading behind them as Levi's battered Ford rumbled to life. The highway unspooled ahead, a ribbon of blacktop cutting through fields of amber waves, and Isaiah leaned back, the engine's hum vibrating through his chest like a promise. For the first time since the door had slammed, he breathed without drowning. The miles melted away under the truck's tires, Ohio's flatlands giving way to gentle rolls that hinted at the hills beyond. Isaiah stole glances at Levi, the way his hands gripped the wheel, knuckles scarred from old fights or hard labor, veins mapping stories Isaiah ached to trace. Conversation flowed in fits and starts, like a radio signal cutting through static. Levi sharing tales of a winter spent snowed in with a crew of loggers, all rough edges and raucous laughs, until one night by the fire, he'd let slip his own truths and earned a black eye for it. "Learned quick," Levi said, eyes on the road, "that some folks'll love you till they don't. Then it's just you and the quiet." Isaiah nodded, the words landing heavy in his gut. "Dad's church crowd. They're all about forgiveness, long as it's on their terms. Mom. She just cried. Didn't fight for me." His voice cracked on the last word, and he turned to the window, watching silos blur by like forgotten sentinels. The photo in his backpack burned against his thigh, him and Ellie, cotton candy sticky on their fingers, her gap-toothed grin a beacon he'd never see again. Would she understand? Or would she grow up whispering prayers against the sin her brother carried? Levi's hand landed on his shoulder then, brief as a heartbeat, warm through the damp fabric. "Give her time, kid. Some roots run deeper than the hate lets on." The touch lingered in Isaiah's mind long after Levi pulled away, a spark in the dimness that made his pulse stutter. They hit Columbus by noon, the city unfolding like a crumpled map, sprawling brick warehouses reborn as lofts, the Scioto River glinting under iron bridges, air thick with the tang of street food and exhaust. Levi navigated the veins of one-ways with the ease of someone who'd mapped them in solitude, pulling into a gravel lot behind a nondescript warehouse on the edge of the short North Arts district. "Crash pad," he explained, "killing the engine. Me and a buddy fixed it up last year. Roof doesn't leak much. Inside, the space was a testament to makeshift survival. Exposed beams strung with Edison bulbs, a kitchenette cobbled from salvaged cabinets, mismatched furniture that spoke of flea markets and favors. It smelled of pine soap and faint motor oil, worlds away from the sterile fury of Isaiah's ejection. Levi tossed him a towel and a dry shirt from a laundry basket, soft gray Henley that hung loose on Isaiah's slimmer frame, carrying Levi's scent of cedar and sun-warmed cotton. Showers down the hall. Make yourself. Whatever. The hot water was a revelation, steam curling like forgiveness as Isaiah scrubbed away the night's grime. He lingered under the spray, letting it wash the salt from his eyes, until the pad of Levi's knocks pulled him back. Emerging, towel-turbaned and borrowed clothes clinging just right, he found Levi at the stove, flipping grilled cheeses with a practiced flick. "Figured you could use fuel that ain't diner slop," Levi said, plating it up with tomato soup from a can. Comfort food, American as apple pie and regret. They ate cross-legged on the sagging couch, knees brushing in the tight space, and the barriers crumbled further. Isaiah spilled it all then, the furtive crushes on the wrestling team, the way he'd pray for straightness in the barn loft until the hypocrisy choked him, the night he'd kissed a boy at a bonfire party and felt, for one stolen minute, whole. Levi listened without interrupting, his nods slow and affirming, until Isaiah trailed off, cheeks burning. "Sorry. Dumping on you like this." Levi set his bowl aside, leaning forward with elbows on knees, close enough that Isaiah could count the freckles across his nose. "Don't apologize for being human, Isaiah. I ran from worse shadows than yours. Thought if I kept moving, the hurt would too. But it sticks, till you find someone who sees the light in your dark." Their eyes locked, the air thickening with unspoken currents. And Isaiah felt it then, the pull, magnetic and terrifying, like stepping off a cliff into unknown waters. Levi's hand rose, hesitant, cupping the back of Isaiah's neck in a gesture that was anchor and question all at once. No words, just the press of thumbs against tense muscles, easing knots Isaiah hadn't known were there. It wasn't fire, not yet, just warmth, seeping into cracks he'd thought sealed shut. That night, sleep came fitful on the pull-out bed Levi insisted on giving up, the warehouse creaking like old bones in the wind. Isaiah dreamed of rain-swept fields and hands that held without bruising, waking to the scent of coffee and Levi's silhouette in the kitchen light, humming an old Springsteen tune under his breath. "Morning, wanderer," Levi greeted, sliding a mug over. "Got a line on work at the market today, loading trucks. Pays cash. If you're up for sweat." Isaiah was. Anything to feel useful, to outrun the void his father had carved. The day blurred into a rhythm of heavy lifts and barked orders, the short north's bustle a symphony of vendors hawking artisanal cheeses and vintage vinyls. Levi moved like he belonged, trading jokes with stall owners, his laugh a low rumble that drew Isaiah in orbit. By dusk, muscles aching and pockets lined with 20s, they collapsed onto a bench by the river, watching joggers and dog walkers silhouette against the setting sun. "You're good at this," Isaiah said, bumping Levi's shoulder with his own. "Making a place feel like, I don't know, not so empty." Levi's gaze drifted to the water, ripples catching fire in the light. "Places ain't home, Isaiah. People are. Took me years to learn that, bouncing from one hollow to the next, chasing ghosts of what could have been." He paused, voice dropping. "Lost a guy once. In Philly. We built something real, late nights fixing up a row house, dreaming of a life without hiding. Then his family found out. pulled him back with guilt and God. Left me picking up the pieces. Promised myself no more half measures after that. The confession hung heavy, laced with old pain, and Isaiah's chest tightened with empathy, and something sharper, a fear of history repeating. "I'm sorry," he whispered, hand finding Levi's on the bench, fingers lacing tentative as vines. Levi didn't pull away. Instead, he turned his palm up, calluses rough against Isaiah's smoother skin, a silent vow in the squeeze. As stars pricked the twilight, they walked back in companionable quiet, the city's pulse syncing with their own. That night, curled on the couch under a shared blanket, Levi's arm a loose drape over Isaiah's waist, the boundaries blurred further. No grand declarations, just the steady rise and fall of breaths. The way Levi's fingers traced idle patterns on Isaiah's arm, mapping safety in strokes. Isaiah drifted off to the sound of rain pattering the warehouse roof, softer now, like an apology from the sky. Days stretched into weeks, the warehouse evolving from refuge to ritual. Mornings dawned with Levi's pancakes, lumpy but laced with love, and Isaiah's tentative sketches on scrap paper, capturing the curve of Levi's jaw or the sprawl of the market in charcoal smears. He'd always doodled in secret, hiding pads under his mattress back home, but here, Levi hung them on the fridge with pride, declaring, "Artists got talent. World needs more of that fire." Evenings were for wandering the district's galleries, Levi's hand brushing Isaiah's in crowds, a code for "I'm here" that set Isaiah's heart racing. But shadows lingered. A letter arrived one Tuesday, postmarked from Milford, Ellie's careful script on the envelope. Isaiah's hands shook opening it, words blurring. "Miss you, Izzy. Dad says you're with the devil, but I know better. Mom cries at night. Come home?" The plea twisted like a knife, pulling at loyalties frayed but unbroken. He showed Levi that night, over takeout lo mein, and Levi read it slow, jaw tight. "Family's a tether," Levi said finally, setting the paper down. "But it can drag you under if it's poisoned. You owe them nothing you ain't got to give." Isaiah nodded, but sleep evaded him, the pull of blood warring with the gravity of this new orbit. The next day, he called the farm from a payphone, voice cracking as his mom picked up. "Isaiah? Oh, God, baby." Her sobs cut through the line, a dam breaking, but his father's shadow loomed in her hesitance. "He's praying for you. Says come confess. Make it right." The words soured in his mouth, and he hung up, the receiver heavy as regret. Levi found him later on the fire escape, staring at the city lights like they held answers. "Can't fix what won't heal," Levi murmured, settling beside him, their shoulders touching solid as stone. In that perch above the hum, Isaiah turned, cupping Levi's face with hands that trembled less now, and pressed their foreheads together. The kiss that followed was inevitable, soft at first, exploratory, tasting of salt and second chances. Levi's lips were chapped from wind, his response a slow unfurling, hands framing Isaiah's ribs like fragile glass. It deepened in the cool air, breaths mingling, bodies aligning in a dance of rediscovery, until they broke apart gasping, grins sheepish and shared. "Your trouble," Levi whispered, thumb brushing Isaiah's lower lip. "Your kind of trouble," Isaiah shot back, the words a bridge over the chasm. Autumn crept in on russet wings, painting Columbus's streets in fiery hues, the air crisp with fallen leaves and the promise of change. Isaiah and Levi fell into a cadence that felt like fate rewritten. Mornings tangled in sheets that smelled of them both. Lazy kisses over coffee mugs. Evenings where Levi read aloud from dog-eared Kerouac paperbacks, his voice weaving wanderlust into their still world. Isaiah found work at a print shop, inking posters for local bands, his art blooming under encouragement that felt like sunlight after endless night. "You're seeing yourself now," Levi would say, pinning a new sketch to the wall, his pride a mirror reflecting worth Isaiah had doubted. Yet the letter from Ellie festered, a thorn in the idol. Isaiah wrote back in fits of midnight ink, pages of love and loss, urging her to question the sermons that branded him sinner. "You're my anchor. Don't let them sink you too." He mailed them from the post office on High Street, heart lighter each time, but replies came sporadic, laced with her growing doubts. "Dad burned your last one. Says it's temptation. But I hid this, love you forever." The words fueled Isaiah's resolve, a quiet rebellion blooming in his chest. Levi watched it all with a tenderness that bordered on fierce, but cracks showed in his armor too. One night, after a gallery opening where Isaiah's piece, a stormy portrait of two figures reaching through rain, sold for $50, Levi downed whiskey neat at the warehouse bar they'd rigged from pallets. "Proud of you," he slurred, pulling Isaiah close in the dim lamplight. But his eyes held storms of their own, confessions spilling loose. The ex in Philly hadn't just left. He'd promised to fight, then ghosted under family pressure, leaving Levi to bury the betrayal in bottles and backroads. "Swore I'd never let anyone in again. Then you damn near broke me open." Isaiah held him through the shakes, murmuring assurances into sweat-damp hair, their bodies a tangle of comfort rather than conquest. "I'm not going anywhere," he vowed, meaning it bone deep. In the aftermath, Levi softened further, teaching Isaiah to drive the truck on empty backroads, hands over hands on the gearshift, laughter echoing as they fishtailed through mud. They carved out traditions, Thanksgiving turkey from a food bank bird, dressed up with market cranberries, drives to the Hocking Hills, where fog-shrouded forests whispered secrets and Levi's fingers laced with Isaiah's under star-pricked skies. Winter's bite arrived early, frosting windows and blanketing the city in hush. Isaiah's 21st birthday fell on a snow-glazed December eve, and Levi surprised him with a rooftop setup, string lights pilfered from the market, a thermos of mulled cider, and a wrapped bundle, a leather-bound sketchbook, pages thick as promises. "For the stories you're telling now," Levi said, voice rough with emotion, as they huddled under wool blankets, city sprawl twinkling below. Isaiah's gift was simpler, a carved wooden keychain, whittled from a branch during slow shifts, shaped like an open door. "Home," he explained, pressing it into Levi's palm. Their kiss that night was snowflake soft, melting into warmth that chased the cold, bodies pressing close in a language of trust. But the idol fractured on New Year's, when Isaiah's phone buzzed with an unknown number, his uncle from Milford, voice oily with false concern. "Your pa's had a spell, boy. Heart acting up. Family needs you. Come make peace for it's too late." The words slithered like smoke, guilt coiling tight. Isaiah paced the warehouse, Levi trailing with worried eyes. "It's a trap," Levi warned, arms crossing over his chest. "They'll chew you up, spit you out smaller." "I know," Isaiah snapped, sharper than intended, regret flashing immediate. But Ellie's there. And Mom. What if he dies hating me? The argument simmered low, Levi's hurt masking as understanding, ending in a stiff hug that felt like fracture lines. Isaiah went anyway, hitching a greyhound through slushy flats, arriving at the farm under a leaden sky. The house loomed unchanged, porch sagging like unresolved sins, but inside, the air was thick with hospital hush tones. His father lay in the recliner, gaunt and gray, oxygen hissing from a tank like accusations unspoken. Mom hovered, eyes red-rimmed, pulling Isaiah into a bone crush that smelled of lavender and loss. "He asked for you," she whispered, though her grip trembled with unvoiced pleas. The confrontation came bedside, Isaiah's father rasping words laced with whiskey ghosts. "Thought I could pray it out of you. Save your soul." His hand, veined and frail, clutched Isaiah's sleeve, not in forgiveness, but demand. "Confess it. Let the pastor lay hands. Be my boy again." The room spun, Isaiah's pulse thundering denial, but Ellie's small form in the doorway, 13 now, eyes wide with hero worship, tipped the scale. He stayed 3 days, enduring sermons that scorched, meals silent as judgment, sketching in secret to keep sanity intact. Levi's texts anchored him, "Miss your laugh. Come back whole." But distance bred doubt, whispers from kin painting Levi as devil's lure. On the 4th dawn, Isaiah fled, the bus depot a blur of tears and resolve, vowing silence on the poison seeping in. Back in Columbus, Levi waited with open arms, but the reunion soured quick, Isaiah distant, haunted, snapping at Levi's concern. "Just need space," he'd mutter, burying in sketches that turned jagged, rain-lashed. Levi withdrew, hurt festering into walls, their touches tentative now, laced with unspoken fears. Spring thawed the ice, but not the rift. Isaiah threw himself into art shows, his work, raw vignettes of fractured homes, earning nods from gallery owners, a scholarship offer to an atelier in Chicago flickering like temptation. Levi, meanwhile, took longer hauls, trucking loads to Cincinnati, absences stretching days into doubts. One April night, after a show where Isaiah mingled with polished types, Levi confronted him over cold takeout. "You're pulling away." Like he did. "Say it. Tell me this is real. Or let me go, for we both bleed." Isaiah's chest caved, words tumbling. The guilt from the farm, the whispers questioning if love like theirs could last without roots. "I want this, sus. But what if I'm poison too? What if I drag you down?" Levi's face crumpled, hands framing Isaiah's. Fierce. "You're not him. You're light, Isaiah. But love ain't a solo carry. We build it together, or it crumbles." The kiss that followed was desperate, a reclaiming, bodies crashing in a storm of need and affirmation, rain pattering outside like applause. Summer scorched in, humidity cloaking Columbus in a haze of cicada song and street festivals, the short north pulsing with life that mirrored Isaiah's tentative bloom. The scholarship letter sat unanswered on the fridge, a siren call to independence. But Isaiah's sketches now wove Levi into every frame, hands intertwined against city skylines, profiles silhouetted in golden hour, symbols of a bond reforged in honesty. They navigated the fragility with care. Date nights at dive theaters screening old Bogart films, hands clasped in the dark, weekend hikes in the ravines, where Levi taught Isaiah to identify wild edibles, their laughter echoing off mossy cliffs. Ellie's letters sustained him, her words evolving from pleas to pride. Drew a picture of you flying. Izzy. Dad's quieter now. Says maybe God's bigger than his rules. Isaiah replied with photos snapped on Levi's old Polaroid, him and Levi at a pride picnic. Rainbows fluttering like flags of defiance, slipping them into envelopes with notes of hope. His mother called sporadically, voice thawing. We're trying, son. Praying different now. No full absolution, but cracks in the wall, sunlight piercing through. Levi's past resurfaced in fragments. A postcard from Philly, the ex's scrawl, heard you're settled. Good for you. Sorry never cut it, but here anyway. Levi crumpled it unread, but Isaiah smoothed it out later, piecing together the ache. You don't have to carry it alone, Isaiah said that night, curled on the fire escape, city fireworks blooming distant. Levi's confession came halting, the betrayal's scar, how it had taught him to armor up, fearing every vulnerability a potential wound. You make me want to risk it again, he admitted, voice raw, fingers tracing Isaiah's knuckles. Build something unbreakable. Their love deepened in those confessions. Intimacy a tapestry of shared silences and stolen touches. Mornings where Levi's lips brushed Isaiah's temple, waking him with coffee and whispers. Evenings sketching by lamplight, Levi's head on Isaiah's lap. Stories of road ghosts traded like treasures. Isaiah's art flourished. A solo exhibit at a local co-op drawing crowds. His piece reigns reckoning. A father figure hurling a son into storm, only for a shadowed stranger to extend a hand. Selling to a collector who murmured, hits like truth, but betrayal brewed in shadows Isaiah couldn't foresee. Levi's trucking buddy, Marcus, a burly vet with a laugh like thunder and eyes that lingered too long, started crashing at the warehouse during Levi's hauls. Just for a night or two, Isaiah welcomed him at first, the extra hands lightening loads at the market. But unease prickled. Marcus's jokes edged too familiar, his claps on Levi's back holding proprietary weight. One stifling July afternoon, Isaiah returned early from the print shop, the heat wave breaking in sudden thunder, to find them in the kitchen, Marcus's arm slung casual over Levi's shoulders, laughter dying abrupt as Isaiah appeared. Join the party? Isaiah forced, voice light, but his stomach nodded. Marcus grinned. Easy deflection. Just swapping war stories. Levi here's a saint for putting up with my bullshit. He clapped Levi's back again, lingering, before grabbing his keys. Catch you later, man. The door clicked shut, leaving silence thick as humidity. Levi busied with dishes, suds foaming white. He's a good guy. Rough edges, but loyal. Isaiah leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Loyal how? Looked like more than buddies. The words slipped accusatory. Born of farm-bred fears, whispers of sin, of loves that lured to ruin. Levi's shoulders tensed, sponge pausing. Isaiah, come on. Marcus is straight as they come, divorced, 2 kids he sees on weekends. It's nothing, but doubt seeded, watered by Isaiah's insecurities, blooming into quiet withdrawals. He worked late, sketched alone, the warehouse feeling smaller. Levi's touches met with hesitance. Levi tried notes in lunch bags. You're my north. Don't forget. But the rift widened, a fault line cracking under pressure. The storm broke in August, during a heat lightning night that rattled windows like omens. Isaiah, insomnia-fueled, scrolled old texts, landing on one from Marcus, Tell your boy thanks for the bed. Soft landing. Innocuous, but paired with a winking emoji from months back. It ignited paranoia. He confronted Levi at dawn. Phone thrust forward. What's this? Soft landing? You two got history I should know. Levi, bleary-eyed over coffee, recoiled like slapped. Jesus, Isaiah. It's a joke. Couch surfing after his ex kicked him out. You're twisting it. Am I? Isaiah's voice rose, hurt lashing out. Like you twisted away from Philly? Or am I just the rebound kid? Keeping the bed warm till something better pulls up. The words landed like blows, Levi's face paling. That what you think? After everything? He stood, chair scraping harsh. I opened up, laid bare scars I hid for years. And you throw it back like trash, pain etched deep. But beneath it, a flicker of something colder, resignation, the ghost of old betrayals. Isaiah deflated, reaching out. I didn't mean. I'm scared, Levi. Of losing this. Of being the fool who believes. Levi stepped back. I shuddered. Fear's a thief, Isaiah. Steals what you build if you let it. He grabbed his keys, voice breaking. Need air. Think on it. The door slammed, not like his father's, but echoing all the same, and Isaiah sank to the floor, sobs racking as thunder rolled. Hours later, Levi returned, drenched not from rain but sweat, face streaked with exertion from a run through the storm. Can't do half in, he said, dropping to knees before Isaiah. Love you, all of you, doubts and dreams. But trust's the foundation. Without it, we're just echoes. Isaiah pulled him close, apologies dissolving in salt and embrace, their foreheads pressed as lightning forked the sky. I trust you, he whispered, meaning it fierce. Teach me how to hold it. They rebuilt from there, boundaries redrawn. Marcus got a polite eviction to his own place, conversations turning transparent. Nights dedicated to unraveling fears with words and warmth. Fall's harvest brought bounty. A joint art truck gig, Levi hauling Isaiah's prints to festivals. Their booth a hub of color and connection. Ellie's visit sealed a chapter. She arrived by bus, wide-eyed at the city, Levi charming her with pancakes and tales of the bravest brother I know. Watching them, Ellie sketching beside Isaiah, Levi's arm around his waist. Isaiah felt roots take hold, not in blood, but choice. Yet winter whispered warnings. Isaiah's scholarship deadline loomed, Chicago's siren song of ateliers and anonymity clashing with the warehouse's hearth. Go if it calls, Levi urged one frostbitten night, breath fogging the window as they traced constellations. I'll follow, or wait. Love ain't chained. Isaiah wavered, heart torn between ambition's pull and the gravity of home found in hazel eyes. The decision crystallized in a December gale, winds howling through Columbus like unresolved choruses. Isaiah deferred the scholarship 1 year. He told the admissions board, voice steady over the crackling line, choosing instead a local apprenticeship at the co-op, where his hands could ink stories without abandoning the one etched in Levi's touch. You're my canvas, he explained that night, over cocoa spiked with cinnamon, Levi's grin breaking wide as dawn. Relief flooded them, sealing in a kiss that tasted of futures unchained, bodies entwining slow and sure under quilts heavy with promise. Spring 2026 bloomed defiant, cherry blossoms dusting the scioto like confetti from a wedding unheld. Isaiah's work gained traction. A mural commission for a community center, vibrant scenes of outcasts finding kin amid urban vines. Levi, ever the anchor, welded frames for the panels in his makeshift shop. Sparks flying like stars as Isaiah painted beside him, their laughter mingling with the sizzle of metal. Ellie's updates glowed brighter. Dad's in counseling. Asked about you. Said sorry in a letter. Burned it, but meant it. Isaiah framed the note, hanging it beside his sketches, a talisman of mending. But betrayal's shadow lengthened unexpected. Marcus, settled but simmering, cornered Levi during a haul to Dayton, jealousy festering from rebuffed advances years back, now twisted into sabotage. Over beers at a truck stop, he spun lies. Your boy's using you, man. Scholarship deferral? That's code for till I bolt. Saw him eyeing that gallery hotshot. Flirty as hell. Venom born of rejection. Marcus texted Isaiah anonymous barbs. Levi's got secrets. Philly wasn't the only ghost. Screenshots of old messages. Innocuous but damning out of context. Seeded Isaiah's soil anew. Doubt crept insidious. Isaiah withdrawing into late nights at the mural site. Brushes slashing color like accusations. Levi sensed it, confronting gently over dinner, pad thai from the corner cart, steam curling accusatory. Talk to me. Walls are up again. Isaiah's hand trembled, phone sliding across the table. This from a friend. Says you're hiding. More. The words choked. Vulnerability raw. Levi scanned. Face storming thunder. Marcus. Son of a bitch. He explained. Marcus's unrequited crush. Confessed once in a blackout. Rebuffed firm. The texts. Harmless shop talk twisted. I'd never God. Isaiah. You're it. End of the line. But the poison spread. Isaiah's trust frayed to threads. Sleepless. He drove to the farm unannounced. Needing blood's balm. Milford greeted with open arms. Mom's hugs fierce. Dad's handshake awkward but extended. Ellie chattering of school plays. You're glowing, Mom said. Eyes tracing the silver ring Levi had slipped on his finger months back. Simple band, engraved homeward. But whispers followed, church ladies murmuring of that lifestyle, Dad's counseling group hinting at redemption paths, the visit stretched, comfort turning cage, and Isaiah confessed the rift over kitchen coffee. Love's a risk, Dad rumbled, voice gravel softened by therapy. I gambled wrong with you. Don't repeat my sins. Fight for what's true. The admission cracked Isaiah open. Tears mingling with Mom's. A fragile bridge rebuilt. Returning, he found Levi packing duffels half-zipped. Face etched exhaustion. Needed space, Levi said. Not meeting eyes. Your texts. Said you were staying at the farm. Figured the pull one. No. Isaiah dropped his bag. Hands framing Levi's face. Desperate. It was poison. Marcus lied. And I let fear win again. But Dad, he sees now. And I see you. Clearer than ever. Levi's resolve crumbled. Duffels unzipping as arms wrapped tight. Sobs shared in the hallway's hush. Can't lose you, Levi whispered, forehead to Isaiah's. You're the stranger who showed me home. The confrontation with Marcus came swift. Levi's call terse. Meeting at a neutral diner under fluorescent glare. Isaiah waited outside, heart hammering, as voices rose within. Levi's low thunder dismantling lies. Marcus's deflections cracking under truth. You poisoned what I built, 'cause you couldn't handle no? Levi's voice carried, edged steel. We're done every road, every favor. Marcus slunk out defeated. Mumbling apologies Isaiah ignored. The rift cauterized in honesty. Healing wove them tighter, summer's heat forging resilience. They road-tripped the Great Lakes, truck bed laden with coolers and canvases, painting dunes at dawn. Levi's fingers dusted in sand and Isaiah's pigments. Festivals dotted the calendar. Pride in June. Rainbows reclaiming storms. Where they danced under street lamps. Bodies synced in jubilant defiance. Isaiah's mural unveiling drew crowds. Levi's pride beaming brighter than the spotlights. His toast at the after-party simple. To the boy who turned rain to roots. Fall's harvest brought full circle. A letter from Dad. Handwritten. No sermons. Just proud of the man you became. Doors open. Always. Isaiah read it aloud to Levi by the fire escape. Tears tracing joy's path. Ellie's holiday visit promised. The family expanding in chosen threads. Winter whispered of permanence. A down payment on a small loft in German village. Bricks warmed by history. Space for studios and shared silences. Levi proposed not with rings, but vows etched in snow. Build forever with me? Isaiah's yes was a kiss in flurry, binding them against the cold. Yet climax loomed in spring's thaw. Isaiah's deferred scholarship renewed with a fellowship. Full ride. Chicago calling louder. A solo path to acclaim. The offer dangled. Ambition clashing with love's gravity. Nights spent debating under quilts. Go, Levi urged again. Voice steady but eyes pleading. Be the artist the world needs. I'll bridge the miles, weekends, calls, whatever it takes. Isaiah wavered, heart a battlefield, until a gallery scouts offer tipped the scale. A residency right in Columbus, funded, flexible home without sacrifice. He signed. The pen's scratch a declaration, and Levi's whoop echoed through the loft, lifting him in a spin that blurred to laughter and love. Betrayal's echo faded to lessen, their bond-tempered steel human, flawed, enduring. The residency unfolded like a dream woven from grit and grace. Isaiah's days a whirl of critiques and clay-smeared smocks in the co-op's sunlit studios, evenings collapsing into Levi's arms amid takeout and tales of the road. Their loft became sanctuary, walls papered in Isaiah's evolutions, from rain-lashed exiles to intertwined horizons, shelves groaning under Levi's salvaged treasures, a chipped mug from their first diner meet cradling nightly teas. Neighbors nodded hellos, a chosen community knitting around them, queer couples hosting potlucks, artists swapping critiques over wine. Ellie's summer stay sealed joys. At 15, she arrived with sketchpads and sass, Levi dubbing himself Cool Uncle as they kayaked the Olentangy. Her giggles a melody mending old fractures. Dad's calls grew routine. Gruff advice on truck maintenance bridging gaps. Take care of that engine, and the man driving it. Mom visited once. Tentative hugs evolving to shared recipes. Her eyes softening at the ring's gleam. He looks at you like you're his son, she murmured. Approval a quiet revolution. Levi's world steadied too. A promotion to route supervisor. Less miles. More mornings waking to Isaiah's sleepy doodles on his chest. They volunteered at the community center. Levi wrenching bikes for at-risk kids while Isaiah led art workshops. Hands guiding tiny ones through storms of color. You're changing lives, Levi said one dusk, watching Isaiah with a boy who'd inked his own ejection story. Like you changed mine. Autumn's palette deepened conflicts resolved. But humanity's hues demanded nuance. Marcus resurfaced, sober now. Apology letter scrawled raw. Jealousy blinded me. Lost a friend. Hope I didn't ruin more. Levi read it neutral, forwarding to Isaiah. Forgiveness came deliberate. A coffee meet. Boundaries firm. Marcus's nod grateful as closure. Growth's messy, Isaiah reflected later, Levi's hand in his. Like us. Winter's hush brought introspection. A nor'easter blanketing the city, stranding them in loft-bound bliss with board games and body heat. Isaiah penned a chapbook. Strangers' shelter. Vignettes of their arc. Hook of rain. Romances bloom. Betrayals bite. Self-published in runs of 50. Gifted first to Levi with inscription. For the home I chose. Levi's eyes misted. Reading aloud by candlelight. Voice cracking on the dedication. To the man who threw open doors. Spring 2027 heralded harvest. Isaiah's chapbook caught a lit mag's eye. Excerpts running in a Pride issue. Whispers of larger presses. Levi surprised with a road trip, trailing Route 60 SIXS echoes to California. Truck humming anthems as dunes gave way to ocean roar. On a Big Sur cliff, waves crashing below like applause, Levi knelt, not for rings anew, but vows renewed. 10 years from now, 20 still you, still us. Homes wherever we land. Isaiah pulled him up, kiss salt-tanged by spray. Always, climax crested subtle. Not in thunder but quiet thunderclap. Dad's health faltered again. A call pulling Isaiah east. The farm waited. Not as cage but crossroads. Family gathered. No sermons. Just hands clasped in Isaiah's. Dad's rasp. You taught me grace, son. Thank you. Ellie, budding artist, unveiled a portrait, Isaiah and Levi, hands linked against storm, hanging proud in the living room. Forgiveness flowed bidirectional, wounds scarred to strength. Back in Ohio, the loft thrummed with life. Friends toasting the mag feature, Levi's promotion party spilling laughter into night. Isaiah's next project brewed. A graphic novel, their story anonymized but true, pages flipping betrayal to belonging. Betrayal's ghost, banished to footnote, a chapter closed in empathy. For in the end, home wasn't blood's dictate or stranger's chance. It was chosen, daily, in the curve of a smile, the press of palm to palm. Isaiah and Levi, once adrift in rain, now rooted deep, branches entwining toward skies unlimited. Humanity's arc bent gentle, not flawless, but full love a verb, enacted in storms weathered together. And as another rain fell soft on Columbus panes, Isaiah sketched by window light, Levi's arm a warm weight around him. They knew this was enough. This was everything.